So in this episode, we got the conclusion to the battle with the Baroque works on Little Garden, and there were lots of really awesome moments in this episode. I actually really enjoyed this fight overall. I think it showed a lot of different aspects for a lot of different characters. Specifically, Usopp, I think, used his brain a lot in this fight, and he actually came up with the conclusion or with the idea in order to save Vivi, Nami, and Zoro. He was sort of the MVP of this entire fight, and alongside, Karoo being courageous and running around the candle with that rope while avoiding Mr. Five's bullets like an absolute G. And Luffy using Mr. Three's head, the flame on his head in order to spark the fire that ignited the wax in order to melt them and save everybody. I thought was amazing. It's such a great strategy, and I don't know how they managed to pull it off, but they did. And I think, Usopp actually showing a bit of bravery as well in this episode, because he didn't just run the whole time. He faced Mr. Five sort of head on a little bit. He didn't just run away. He used his brain and courageousness, and I think he got that from watching the Battle of the Giants. He got that from Dory and Broggy, and just it was quite cool to see the fact that like Usopp actually got to do something. And while yes, he did have to get saved by Nami and Vivi in the end, I thought he did really good in this episode. But that moment when Nami and Vivi does save Usopp was really badass. The way they sort of burst through the flames of the fire explosion to take out Miss Valentine, I thought was really sick. They look really cool. And Zoro had a similar thing when he came through the flames and he used Onigiri and he took out Mr. Five with like his flaming swords. I wonder if in the future Zoro is going to use this as sort of like a reference in terms of wanting to do that again. Maybe he'll use some different elements with his swords, or he'll come up with some different techniques based on this, what he did here with the flaming Onigiri. I don't know. But those moments with those three bursting through the flames, I just thought was really cool. I gotta say, the concept of, when Nami, Vivi, and Zoro were frozen in wax, and Mr. Free was saying how they're gonna slowly die, but they're conscious, but their heart's gonna slowly stop. It's such a scary concept when you actually think about it, not being able to do anything, but sort of knowing you're dying and being conscious of it. Is actually horrifying. And Mr. Three's candle wax battle suit thing was quite cool. I love the fact that him and Miss Golden Week sort of work together. It's almost like Mr. Three creates a canvas for Miss Golden Week to sort of paint upon. And I don't think the paint actually did too much to Mr. Three's armor. I'm not actually too sure, but they didn't really say anything specifically. But, her paint has power, so I assume it maybe powered it up in some sort of way. But either way, it was pretty easy for Luffy to sort of defeat him after everything. But I do like the part where Luffy and Karoo ended up chasing Mr. Three into the forest, who fled after the whole explosion. And they encountered a bunch of copies of Mr. Three, and you're like, oh, how's Luffy going to figure this out? And then he just kicks him straight in the fucking face. And he was just like, I thought that was great. And then Karoo takes out Miss Golden Week as well, which I thought was great. I hope we get to see Broggy or Dory get some sort of revenge on these guys, but we'll just have to see. But I think that needs to happen. Do you know what I mean? But at the end of this episode, Sanji finds Mr. Three sort of wax house, and there's a phone call coming in for Mr. Three, and Sanji picks up, and it turns out Mr. Zero is on the other side, who we know as Crocodile. So I'm very interested to see what happens in the next episode. Like, what is Crocodile actually going to say to Sanji? Is he going to figure out that that's not Mr. Three? I'm sure he will. But I think there could be a lot of interesting information disclosed in the next episode, which I'm super excited about. This is the first time we've actually heard from Mr. Zero, from Crocodile, so this could get interesting. But overall, I thought this fight was really fun and creative. The fights in One Piece are always really interesting and different and unique, so it's always fun to watch them, all the different powers and things like that. You never know what to expect. But what's Mr. Zero going to say? What's going to happen with Dory and Broggy? I guess we'll find out.